Hi everybody. Now I'm blue. What's going on? Hold on. My webcam. I'm I've in the past used coffee money to buy better webcams, but yeah, just not good. They just don't seem to work pretty well. So I'm gonna do some research and see if I can find one that's better. Oh, now I'm kind of orangish purple. Okay. Anyways, I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show. We just watched a wonderful film that said local travel, where they went to kind of Bryce. They went southwest, not Midwest. Anyways, I'm at a loss of geography today. So, anyways, we watch old 16mm films, and that was a home movie. And everybody's wishing Taryn a happy birthday for the weekend, and she requested a football film. I don't always do requests, but if I get a little bit of a heads up, then I can go and maybe find stuff. This is tangentially related to football. It's not related to the Super Bowl, but I haven't shown it, and it's pretty cool. So this is Arena. Enjoy. Yeah, my apologies. For some reason, my Mac is just chugging, like just going like, oh. This came off a telecine, and I've been trying to improve the image of the file of what I'm playing back, and that might just be too much for it. So my apologies. I mean, it does start off with still images and then little slow motion images and things like that, and the audio is supposed to keep you going, but I think that it's too much. So I'm gonna try to adjust some of these parameters. Let's see. See if this helps some. Yeah. Anyways, happy birthday, Taryn. That was a lame way to express it, but sometimes these things happen. Technology, man. All right. Speaking of technology, this one has some great music. It's not what we're used to. It's a NASA film, and it's about the command module, but the music is very uplifting and jaunty, and not like this kind of weird. Some of the stuff from the late '60s has this scary music to it that is, I guess, a vision of what the future is like, but also is just scary. So, kind of like Planet of the Apes, scary. So here's command module.
Cockpit, crew quarters, command center. When America's 3 astronauts travel to the moon, they'll use the Apollo command module for all these things. And of the 3 modules that make up the spacecraft, this is the only one that will come back. Complicated, complex. The command module is the flying nerve center for man's reach to the moon. It is 12 feet high and slightly less than 13 feet across the base. At launch, the command module weighs over 12,000 pounds. Weight and size are limited, so every feature, every part of the module has a precise role to play. The command module is equipped with 12 thrusters, small rocket motors with a thrust of almost 100 pounds each. 4 of these are used to control the roll, 4 the pitch, and 4 others to control the yaw. 2 side windows are provided for observation and photographic experiments. Between the windows, the access hatch, through which the astronauts will enter the spacecraft for the beginning of the trip, and from which they'll leave at the end. At first glance, the cabin itself seems dominated by 3 crew couches, but there is much more. Each seat is designed to be as comfortable as possible. More important, though, they provide cushioning for the stresses and forces of acceleration and gravity. The commander's seat is different. It has controls on each armrest. On the left armrest, controls for forward and reverse thrust. And on the right, rotation control for roll, pitch, and yaw maneuvers. In actual flight, much of the thruster action will be automatic, guided by computer, but the commander does have the option of manual control. The middle seat, used by the pilot of the command module, can be folded back to provide working space and give the crew a chance to stretch. And beneath the right and left seats are beds. After all, it's a long trip. Almost every inch of the interior wall space is filled with switches, dials, and gauges. Some are similar to those found in modern jet planes, but others are new, designed for the requirements of spaceflight. Above the commander's couch, the major flight controls. an altimeter which registers only 60,000 feet, the last 60,000 feet of the trip. Just below is the re-entry monitor to guide the commander during those last critical steps. Next to it, a master alarm light and signal. From the command module, the astronauts may also keep track of the direction of flight through space on this instrument, and fuel pressure in the launch vehicle. Still more controls. These serve to aim the third stage propulsion engine, and lights to show ignition and burn of the main liftoff engines, and the signal no astronaut wants to see. The panel directly to the right is the display and keyboard of the onboard computer. The commander or the command module pilot can ask questions of the computer by punching a code on the keyboard. Instantly, the computer returns the answer. After the spacecraft is on its way to the moon, the middle couch is folded back, and much of the command module pilot's attention is directed toward guidance and navigation. The eyepiece on the left, a space sextant. On the right, a scanning telescope. Just below is another rotation control, identical to the one on the commander's armrest. This one is used for steering the spacecraft into position for celestial fixes. And these levers give precision control to the thrusters for final and accurate alignment of the navigation system. The third position in the command module is occupied by the man who will command the lunar module. But even during launch and the lunar trajectory phase of the trip, he's busy and responsible for the spacecraft electrical system, the light support systems, and the performance of the main engines. When the time comes, he and the commander remove the hatch and crawl through into the lunar module. Later, they return and settle down for the long trip home. Cockpit, crew quarters, command center. The Apollo command module serves all these functions and more in the complex job of getting man to the moon.
Isn't that nice? That was very pleasant. You know, one of the things that I like about some of the films that I collect are when I run across the film, you know, these are a lot of instructional films that show you how to do different things. And when I run across a film that shows me how to use educational films, I get very excited. So that's what this next film is. How to use classroom films. It's meant for teachers and for librarians and AV folks. Enjoy.
Lights are dimmed, the projector is running. The classroom has become a setting for use of a very effective teaching tool, the classroom film. Yet what these young people learn and how well they learn it rests largely with how the film is used.
It does work. We've constructed an electric motor from a few simple materials. Let's review what happens by looking at a diagram. Here is the permanent magnet. Like all magnets, it has a north pole and a south pole. Here's the block of iron with the coil of wire around it, an electromagnet. The coil of wire is attached to wires leading to a dry cell. When current starts to flow, the coil becomes an electromagnet with north and south poles. These poles of the electromagnet are attracted by the poles of the permanent magnet, and the block of iron turns. If we reverse the direction of the current in the coil by changing the dry cell connections, the north and south poles in our electromagnet reverse. This puts two north poles together and two south poles together. Since like poles repel each other, the electromagnet rotates until opposite poles are attracted to one another. If we add the automatic switch to our diagram, it will look like this. Now, if the wires are connected to the dry cell, the motor will continue to rotate in one direction.
For a science class concerned with how an electric motor works, a classroom film has illustrated a complex process in simple, understandable terms. The film, as is often true, has proved itself an effective and valuable teaching aid. This is particularly true when the film has been carefully selected for content and when the students have been correctly prepared for viewing the film. Activities which follow the film are also important. Activities such as a post-film discussion.
Now, can someone explain to me the function of one of the basic parts of the electric motor? Danny.
Well, without that automatic switch, the part called the commutator, the motor wouldn't make a complete revolution.
Do you all agree with Danny's statement? George.
Yes, I do, because on the diagram you could see that the commutator reverses the current. If it didn't, the motor action would stop.
All right now, from what we've seen in the film and talked about, can someone give me the definition of a commutator? Sharon, give me your definition.
A commutator is a device for reversing the direction of a current.
The film has been used to convey information and to stimulate deductive thinking. This kind of discussion of content is as much a part of using a film as the actual showing of it. For a film, however good it may be, is still only a teaching tool and depends for its greatest effectiveness on how it is used by the teacher. Effective use of a film begins days, perhaps even weeks prior to the showing, when the teacher selects the film. The director of her local instructional materials center can often provide helpful advice about which of several films in the same subject area will best suit the teacher's purpose. Of course, one may have to rely on the resume in a catalog to determine a film's content as well as its running time. The important thing at this point is that selection is not a hit or miss affair, but keyed to a lesson plan and made on the basis of the best information available about a film. The next step you, as the teacher, take in using a film is to become familiar with it yourself. If the film is available to you for only a short time, you may have to limit your own preparation to studying the teacher's guide for the film if it is available. Here you will find usually a more complete description of the film's content than is possible in a catalog or file, along with the questions you may want to ask following the showing of the film. Comments from previous users of a particular film, if they are available, are also helpful. An ideal way to study a film and prepare to use it with your class is to preview it, with pencil in hand, taking notes as the film progresses. It can be a real help to have one or more of your students in the preview room with you. As they watch from a viewpoint which is different from yours, they will detect new or unusual words or situations which may require explanation before the film is shown to the group. They may also reveal interests a teacher may use to motivate the entire class.
Well, Billy, was there anything you didn't understand?
Well, I don't understand why the farmers and cattlemen had to fight so much. Why couldn't the farmers just settle and plant their crops in the areas where the cattlemen were located?
How about you, Mary? Any words you didn't understand?
Well, blooded something. Blooded stock, I think it was.
Creative teachers have many ways of developing class readiness for seeing a film. Preparation often starts the day before. Unusual words may be defined beforehand.
You recall that yesterday we talked about the problems of settling this large area of our country known as the Great Plains. Today we're going to see a film that shows us those problems very clearly. Of course, when the Great Plains were being settled in the 1850s and 1860s, The movie camera had not yet been invented. So in this film, we get the story as we look at famous paintings and drawings made by artists who were there at the time. Now, Kathy, do you recall the problem about the plains area that we discussed yesterday?
Well, there was constant fighting between ranchers and farmers over the use of land, so neither of them could become really prosperous. And we decided that this situation kept many people away who might otherwise have come and helped to settle the Great Plains.
Yes, very good summary, Kathy. Now, in this film, we're going to learn about some other problems that faced these people and what they finally did about them. Afterwards, I want you to be able to identify and discuss the problems and to describe how the eventual solution of these problems affected our country's history. All right, let's have the film.
It wasn't like the days when cowboys fought Indians. Between cattlemen and farmers, nobody had the what for to make the difference. Both had 6 to use them. Peace depended, it seemed, on finding a cheap and practical fence. Some tried a thorny hedge, the Osage orange for fencing. And it was pig-tight, horse-high, and bull-strong. But it took 4 years and more to grow. Others tried just plain old wire, but cattle shoved right through it. And the search continued. The search for a fence that would combine the low cost of wire with the thorns of a hedge. In 1874, Joseph Farwell Glidden, a 60-year-old farmer, was granted a patent for a barbed fence wire that worked. The following year, Jacob Haish received a patent for his improved S-barb steel fence wire. Both methods were practical and inexpensive. The West got its fencing. But the new fences blocked off the cattle trails to the railroads. And there were some who resisted the changes on the plains brought about by barbed wire. Some fenced off water holes, forcing others to become fence cutters. But the bark of six-shooters diminished. Laws were passed to protect both sides, and in time barbed wire turned out to be a blessing to the cattlemen too. They had built their industry on the native Texas longhorn, a tough, mean, ornery critter, as tough on the table as he was on the range. With barbed wire fencing, the cattlemen could separate their herds, introduce blooded stock, and supply the demand for better beef. Soon the Great Plains became a new land. The railroad, the Colt revolver, the artesian well, the windmill, new ways of farming dry land, and, of course, barbed wire, enabled our country to settle a vast interior, to turn what was once the great American desert into rich, fertile farmland.
Who can give me some reasons why the invention of barbed wire was so important to the development of the Great Plains? Jimmy?
Well, the barbed wire helped both farmers and cattlemen because they could keep the cattle where they were supposed to be, and the farmers could do more farming and less fighting.
Yes, and this was the only kind of wire fencing ever invented that could do the job, wasn't it? Why didn't they build wooden fences? Karen?
There wasn't any wood.
Yes, that's right, Karen. Now I think it might be interesting to find out why there was no wood available in the Great Plains area. This will take some research. So Karen, you, Betty, Tom, and Alan prepare a report on this. We're all going to spend some time reporting on other aspects of this subject, too. Who would like to find out more about the benefits the barbed wire fencing made possible for the cattlemen? Bob?
Well, I recall the film mentioned something about separating the herds and introducing blooded stock. I'd like to know more about this.
Okay, Bob. You team up with George, Bessie, Elaine, and Frank on that question.
There are many ways to conduct post-film activities profitably. The objective should always be to use the film as a springboard to learning, understanding, and creating. Assigning a research project on a topic related to the film will help the student to form relations of ideas, concepts, and facts, and thereby provide creative learning experiences. In any review of effective use of classroom films, we should not overlook the importance of physical details. For example, proper arrangements for seating, lighting, ventilation, and placement of equipment. Also, if you plan to run the film yourself, check ahead of time to make sure you are familiar with the projector and its operation, how to thread it, and how to operate the controls. Where these details are handled by a student projectionist, it is still important for you to make sure that these arrangements are made beforehand. All these physical details may contribute or detract from the showing, and hence they are relevant to the creative use you make of a film as a teaching tool. Remember also that since using a film is part of a creative process, the steps you take reflect your own creative ability. The first point at which you put your creativity to work is in the selection of the film, choosing it for your purposes on the basis of your evaluation of it for the effectiveness with your students. The second point is the key to all the steps following it, your own preparation for showing the film. This is the point where you decide whether you will show the film all at one sitting or use only an excerpt which applies to the particular topic being studied. It is the point at which you make final plans for how to use this teaching tool. At the third point, class motivation, you develop readiness for viewing the film. This may be a simple procedure of telling your students the title of the film, why they are seeing it, and some idea of what they are expected to learn from it. Or it may be as elaborate as using other teaching techniques over several periods leading up to the showing. Point 4, the showing of the film, when the creative process is seemingly out of your hands, still reflects your guiding role, particularly if you decide to repeat the showing of the film or to shut off the projector at a certain spot for a predetermined reason. At point 5, the creative teaching aspect comes into full play, for student participation includes all the follow-up activities which round out your film: discussion, testing for content, research work, report writing, problem. Any or all of these post-film activities are your contribution. And it is your contribution which is the single most important factor in using a classroom film.
I feel like I have those films in my collection. So if you wanted to know even more about barbed wire, we can find it. That AV logo in the beginning of the film, it shows up again for the AV office. So good. Oh man, so good. If I ever build a space that is a dedicated AV Geeks space, I will try to recreate that environment because it just looks so good, so sexy. All right, so I did some monkeying around and I think I got it fixed. I've got another film set up on the telecine, and this is actually not just a film. This is a bunch of 70s public service announcements and advertisements that I got from a filmmaker in Portland, Oregon, and he got it from a TV engineer from a Portland TV station who had a bunch of boxes in their closet. So yeah, so these are, I think the audio is fixed. I did some tests while we were watching the how to use a classroom film. So this is some 70s TV ads and PSAs, Reel 13. Enjoy.
Do you associate baboons only with the jungle? Famed animal behaviorist Jane Goodall studies a troop of baboons who divide their daily lives between the forest and the beach of East Africa's Lake Tanganyika. A fascinating exploration into the origins of the behavior of man. Jane Goodall and the world of animal behavior. The Baboons of Gombe.
My name is Walter O'Keefe. You know, you can help men to overcome alcoholism and other emotional handicaps. You can do it through the Salvation Army. Full-time treatment is provided to countless men at the Red Shield centers. Items that you donate to the Salvation Army are needed to keep hands busy. Your repairable discards help many men to help themselves. All across the country, Salvation Army trucks are answering calls of housewives and businessmen, donating items that are no longer being used, so your donations of usable discards can help that continuing need. Speaking from experience, I can tell you it's double or nothing. You lose nothing and you give double help by calling the Salvation Army truck. Won't you please call for the Salvation Army truck service in your community? And as I used to sign off, live in my heart and pay no rent. Thank you very much.
Less than 10% of all licensed drivers cause 20,000 traffic deaths a year. A sick few that get into an automobile and cause about 400 highway fatalities each week. They're problem drinkers. These aren't just social drinkers. They're drunkards who can hardly walk. So why let them drive? For further information, write Drunken Driver, P.O. Box 1969, Washington, D.C.
You're out of the service, just got home, and you're glad it's over. But maybe it's not really over because you brought a drug problem home with you, and you're finding out that the street is a pretty tough place to solve it. If you're a veteran with a drug problem, there's a place you can go, a place where you won't get hassled or arrested.
May I have the number of the VA Drug Treatment Center, please?
It's up to you. Immediate help is available at your VA Drug Treatment Center. All you have to do is call.
Well, I want to welcome you aboard, Arthur, and see if you have any questions about company policy.
I'm a member of the Air Force Reserve.
Fantastic! The Air Force Reserve is always doing things like building playgrounds, working with Boy Scouts, the Civil Air Patrol, going into depressed areas to run clinics. It's great work. My dad always said, what's good for the Air Force Reserve is good for America. And what's good for America is good for popcorn. Right?
Hey, Sal, salmonella, look, a holiday buffet. That's buffet, Arnie. Great news for us germs. This food's been sitting around at room temperature for over 2 hours. Yeah, for us, a feast. For people, a tummy ache or worse.
The USDA says fie on you, Sal and Arnie, you humbugs. And to you, happy, healthful holidays.
I'm Bob Hope. Pin the tail on a donkey is just a game, but for some children, eye problems continue when the blindfold is removed. Poor vision can affect your child's ability to learn and his ability to enjoy life. Every child should have his eyes checked on a regular basis, and so should you. I know because a checkup at the right time helps save my sight. Don't take your eyes for granted. Where would you be and what would you see without them?
Get a world away from the everyday with new Swanson International Dinners. German, Chinese, Italian, Mexican style.
They take you away from the everyday to a world where the food makes you want to stay.
Those real sensational
International frozen dinners from Swanson.
German style, a generous helping of sauerbraten, spätzles, and Bavarian cabbage. Chinese style, chicken chow mein and fried shrimp. Italian style, lasagna with meat and cheese, tortoni pudding. Mexican style, with a beef enchilada and tamales in the fiesta meaty sauce. Get a world away from the everyday with
these real sensational
International frozen dinners from Swanson. No, 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 no.
Campbell's 2 new Noodle-O's soups. Campbell's Chicken Noodle-O's. Tender chicken, golden broth, and lots of noodles in the round. And Campbell's Tomato Beef Noodle-O's. Tomatoes, ground beef, and a whole mob of Noodle-O's. Both with oodles and boodles of spoonable noodles.
Oh, ladle those Noodle-O's.
Chicken or tomato beef?
No, no, Noodle-O's. No, no, Noodle-O's.
Campbell's new Noodle-O's soups. 2 new noodle soups that kids will come running for. With oodles and boodles of circular noodles. Spoonable, unspillable, non-skid noodles. So there's never a slip twixt the bowl and the lip. First, there's Campbell's Chicken Noodle-O's soup. Chicken in a bright, full-flavored broth with lots of little noodles in the round. Good. Then there's Campbell's Tomato Beef Noodle-O's soup. Good ground beef in a sassy tomato soup. With a whole mob of Noodle-O's.
No, no, Noodle-O's.
Oh, ladle those Noodle-O's. Noodle-O's.
Raindrops are falling on my head. Hi, this is B.J. Thomas. You know, if you find yourself in the Air Force, you can come in out of the rain. If you've got any special interest you really enjoy working at, the U.S. Air Force can develop that interest into a lifetime skill. So I just did meet some from mechanics to photography. If you find yourself in the Air Force, you can come in out of the rain. Like the way he got.
First thing I'll do is I'll case the neighborhood and check out the houses.
You never know when your house is being checked out for burglary.
Because I can break into the mark on it in the daytime or the nighttime. Here's what I'll look for to tell me.
To someone casing the neighborhood, the way you leave your house can be an open invitation.
Lights that are on continuously, like the lawn lamp. They might as well put a sign up on their front lawn telling me that they're out of town because they've told everybody.
A few common sense precautions can make the difference. An expensive, big difference. Home security precautions are included in a new free booklet we've just published. It's an anti-crime guide. Write for it. Write AARP, Box TVW, Washington, D.C. 20006. A public service of the American Association of Retired Persons.
Had a little too much firewater, huh, buddy?
Oh, no. Here's the coffee. It's a drinker's brand, boy.
Say, I'm gonna call a cab for you, fella.
Oh, no, wait a minute, pal, wait a minute. This that'll owe me there. A little cup of coffee can't take care. I tell you, when you gotta sober up and hurry, there's no, like, good old cup of strong black coffee.
How about another cup of coffee, fella?
Oh, sure, go ahead. Well, I better load up this stuff, you know. I'm gonna get up in the morning with the old coffee jack.
Thanks a lot, pal. You're a buddy. You sure you don't want me to call you a cab, fella?
Oh, no, the coffee was just right here.
Everybody knows you can drink as much as you want, just so you have coffee before driving. Sure, Mac. Sure.
I go into the hospital for a lousy operation. I wake up 200 years later and I'm Flash Gordon.
The name of the film is Sleeper. Basically, it's an intellectual film, and there's very little overt comedy in the film. There's no violence in the film at all. It's a quiet piece of family entertainment.
Woody Allen, Diane Keaton, Sleeper.
This message is brought to you by the American Cancer Society.
Are looking for a few good men to make a winning team. Try out for the varsity. See a Marine representative or call this toll-free number.
Duffy Moon was the littlest kid in his class.
Sure it ain't too heavy for you, Shrimp?
Even kids half his age could get him down.
Hello?
Hello, is this the Shrimp?
Then one day, Duffy found the way to be a mouse no more.
In total control. I can make anything happen.
And just wait till you see what happens on the amazing cosmic awareness of Duffy Moon.
Think you're bad off. My cousin, his poor wife is still working her fingers to the bone, making ends meet.
You just relax, Ed. Things are going great at the office. I've taken over your accounts, and the clients couldn't be happier. So you just lie there and get better. You hear?
You've got it pretty soft, Ed. Any messages for the boys at the club? Or shall I just say, you're gonna hang around here for a few weeks?
Remember me? Clark from Allstate. Your brand new car's a total loss. But I brought you a check for a replacement. I knew your wife would need a car. When your medical bills are in, call me.
At Allstate, we get there as quickly as we can. We figure you've suffered enough. Are you looking for protection you can count on?
Talk to the good hands people. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Ladies, one reason you can always trust a Swanson frozen dinner, it rounds the hungry edge of appetite nobly well. Or as some of my more blunt brethren might say, it satisfies. A case in point, Swanson's turkey dinner. First the entree, prized poultry, expressed in succulent slices of white and dark meat, mantled in rich brown gravy and tastefully enhanced with Pepperidge Farm dressing. And now behold the glorified super-whipped potatoes, richly regaled in butter. In the next neighborly compartment, a plentiful portion of peas, also bathed in butter sauce. And to complete our royal repast, a tantalizing extra, tangy sweet cranberry sauce. Aha, you say, but aren't there others? None that even remotely approaches this. So take my word for it, ladies. Trust Swanson.
What's one of the safest ways of saving your hard-earned money?
I buy U.S. savings bonds.
But have you ever thought of buying U.S. savings bonds?
There's a movement in this country. It's called Action. It was created by the President and Congress to give concerned Americans a chance to do something personally about the problems that face us, to volunteer to work with people who are poor and want help. Action is already at work in virtually every state of the Union and in some 60 developing nations. Peace Corps, Vista, and foster grandparents are part of Action, and there are many others. 24,000 Americans, teachers and carpenters, college students and retired businessmen, people from all walks of life, black and white, working with people face to face where it really makes a difference. Maybe you know how Action can help in your community, or maybe you'd like to join this new movement. Let us know. Write to Action, Washington, D.C.
Just give me one good reason why I should have Blue Cross hospital medical protection.
It's a boy.
When you need it, you're better off with Blue Cross.
What's the ocean for, Daddy?
Well, son, the ocean is for swimming and fishing and sailing on and walking by and looking at. You know, my dad used to look at the ocean all the time, and he said that it made him relax, that it made him feel like he was enjoying his life more. I think that's what it is. He felt more alive. I guess it's something eternal in the ocean that strikes us all. That's it. It reminds us that life is for living. And don't miss it.
For your free copy of Words from Unity, write Unity Television, Unity Village, Missouri.
I'm Jim Sicking. Life is for living. Don't miss it.
We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, and we wish you'd mail early, please.
Fly to California as an Air Force pilot. It's the only way to go. Check with the Air Force ROTC on your campus. Ask them about a financial assistance grant. which pays your tuition plus a $50 monthly allowance. Later, if you really want to see California, you'll get the best possible view as an Air Force officer.
Here's my birthday present to you, a new tie.
Oh, thanks.
Here's my birthday present, Charles.
A new tie?
How did y'all know?
And here's a present from all of us, Charlie, a new television set, so you can watch the new adventures of the New Zoo Review.
Oh, a new set? Ooh, watching the New Zoo Review, now that's what I call having a great time.
You don't have to wait until your birthday to have a great time. You can watch the New Zoo Review every day, Monday through Friday, on this channel. Come on, let's watch.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know is, were there actually old adventures of the New Zoo Review? And was there just a zoo review? Lots of questions. Mute that. Somebody in the comments was talking about how NASA would often use different songs. The ads for the Army's, Air Force, Armed Services also would use a lot of popular music, and so I probably missed some because I was out of the room, but yeah, they want you to be a nurse.
I've been in a fight or two in my life, but my biggest one wasn't in pictures. It was against cancer. I won that one too, but you know, you can't win if you don't know what you're fighting. And I knew because I'd had a checkup. Give yourself a fighting chance. Get a checkup. And while you're at it, send a check to the American Cancer Society too. It's great to be alive.
The housing is lousy around here. They don't care about the tenants they have in the building. They can die for all they care as long as they get their rent money.
Some of the apartments, excuse me, that are being held by six. I mean, six going this way, six going that way, six going in all different directions.
Well, I tell you, most of the kids are getting lead poisoning around here. The walls are broken. They start picking on and eating it, eating the cement, the plaster, ceilings falling.
But my thing is trying to survive here and not getting away from it. I'd rather face it.
What heat? You got to buy a heater for the apartment, an electric heater. They give us a coal boiler for 2 buildings. That's 16 apartments in both buildings. One coal boiler isn't going to do it. The heat don't even get up to the 2nd floor. And it's going to get up to the floor?
And I don't keep quiet. I can't see myself being like a vegetable in this world. I have to either do something.
Well, the landlords, they're no good.
If this gets on TV, more power to me and more power to the teenagers around here, too.
Excuse me. Yeah. You know, maybe they should make their own type of music instead of using hit songs. Come on, Air Force. Get it together.
Miss, what do you think it's like to be a nurse in the United States Air Force?
I don't know. I'm gonna find out.
Unbelievable. I mean, you know, maybe the Air Force did actually pay to use this, or it was somehow they got the the record company got some sort of tax waiver for letting it be used. I'm not sure. I don't know the details, but YouTube doesn't care about whatever agreements were made back in the day. I might just call it, as we're hitting all of those songs, and it's after 2 o'clock, and alas, today was a lot of problems with audio, and I apologize for that. I'm going to, maybe over the weekend, I'm going to try to migrate to a newer iMac that I have, because this seems to be struggling with the attempts that I am having to improve the streaming quality. I'm not happy with how blurry it looks compared to other things, and so I've been trying to tweak that, and I increased the frame rate, which immediately is causing all the audio problems. So yeah, so I'm gonna try some things. You might see some false starts and stops and stuff. Or maybe you won't. I might not make it live. Anyways, thanks guys for tuning in today in spite of all the audio glitchery and copyright stuff. I hope you have a great weekend. If you like what you saw, you can buy us coffee at ko-fi.com/avgeeks. You can also go to avgeeks.com and buy DVDs. Those are ways you can show support for us in our constant battle to deliver you unclipped audio and video. That is our job, and we're trying to do it. And we will spend some of the money that we make off the coffee and some of the money we make off of you buying DVDs to constantly improve, make things better, so that you aren't going like, what, is my internet connection weird? But another way you can support us is just hit the like button or the thumbs up button or whatever. Those are all great ways to say thank you for doing what you're doing and for wrestling more than 100 years worth of technology to bring you this material. So everybody have a great rest of your day, and we will see you again on Monday. Everybody take care.